Welcome to Midnight Movie Talk on this Sunday night, live from Los Angeles, just ahead of midnight on the East Coast. We have a special guest tonight we're going to get to in a moment, but let's get to our top story here on MMT this Sunday night. What the hell was MGM thinking with 3,000 Years of Longing? It's the topic du jour today all over Twitter. We talked about this on Thursday right here on Midnight Movie Talk. This film's in big trouble, and it turned out to be exactly that. Death to 3,000 Years of Longing. And the question is why? Okay, that's what you're really trying to figure out here. We've got a lot of theories. I've got a pretty basic one for you that's going to definitely make a lot of sense to you. Let's talk about the number here. I pull it up, 3,000 Years of Longing, on about 2,500 screens. Okay, we scroll across directly from the studio here. Come on, my thing's not moving. There it is. Our total was $2.9 million for the weekend, which is terrible. This is a $60 million film, and that's what I want to drill down on. MGM is a studio that was bankrupt in 2010. They had to declare bankruptcy because of things like this. Giving George Miller $60 million for 3,000 Years of Longing, which is a small art house film. It was never going to be anything other than a small art house film. And you go wide with 2,500 screens. This film is dead. It is over. We bring in now Edward Douglas, who writes The Weekend Warrior. I've been reading that thing. I'm not kidding. I'm not just saying this because you're on, Edward. I've been reading that for years and years because you're one of the first people to do the projections, the guesses on the weekend box office. And I would always read it and say, what's he going to say? Is he crazy? Is he right? And I think you and I both agree on one thing, that we knew this film was in big trouble.
I guess you could say that. I mean, the thing is, this weekend in general was always bad. So when they moved it from, even putting it on Labor Day was probably not the best idea. I mean, this was happening since Cannes when it premiered there. Everyone was like, "What are they going to do with this? What are they going to do with this?" And I guess at Cannes they really didn't get the kind of reaction they were expecting. I don't think.
Yep. But, no, it wasn't the buzz you wanted. You wanted a big time buzz, and it just didn't happen. Didn't materialize.
People were. It wasn't. You had Elvis there, you had Top Gun there, and people were just talking about those, and those both did really well.
Yep.
This one kind of got mixed reactions. And but you asked about why they would greenlight it.
Yeah, why'd they budget it at $60 million? How can give me a reason other than George Miller, Mad Max Fury Road, which I know is the easy answer. But tell me, when you look at the script, and you've seen the film, I've seen the film, saw it a month and a half ago. When you look at the script just alone, I would never give $60 million as a budget to this film. So give me your answer.
Sure. You got to remember that George Miller had this great run at Warner Brothers. Really great run. He did, Thunderdome there. He did the Happy Feet there movies there. He did. I'm not sure about Babe the Pig in the City, but still.
I love that film.
Yeah, but he's been at Warner Brothers for so long. So why would he take this to MGM except for the fact that Warner Brothers didn't want to spend that money? Maybe he even went to Warner Brothers with saying he wanted a bigger budget for this, and they realized, they know what overspend on a movie and it's not going to be delivering. You're just going to lose money. And they probably, I'm assuming they said no to him, and then he went to MGM. And MGM, I'm not sure how far they were to the Amazon thing at that time, but when this Amazon money came in, maybe they said, "Hey, let's get George Miller on board. We could have maybe have an A-list director here." And
it's funny. Let's talk about that for a moment, because I think that is key with all these new entities, Netflix and Amazon and Apple. They want a cut of the pie, right? They want to get into the theatrical game, and you've got George Miller, the name, the director, who is a name, and you say, hey, I don't know if this is the right budget at $60 million, but we want to work with George Miller. And I think this was the fatal flaw from MGM, is they wanted to work with them so bad that they said, here's $60 million to make 3,000 Years of Longing, which again is really a film that should be budgeted at $10 million. I don't care who's involved. The commercial appeal of this film is extremely limited in scope.
No, definitely. And it's the thing is they have the what was I going to say? I completely forgot what I said. I'm sorry. It is kind of late for me here, as you know.
Yeah, I know. It's almost your bedtime. It really is almost midnight there. That's
past my bedtime.
On the West Coast, it's only 9 o'clock. It's perfect. Yeah. But is that the pressure though for these studios that want to get into the game? They're willing to pay these people way too much money and budget these films way too high. Netflix has gotten into trouble with that. Look what we saw with The Gray Man.
Yep. Well, the thing is, I think that what I was going to say is that I think I'm not sure I didn't say that Amazon wants to get into theatrical. I mean, we think that because they do things like this, but I mean, does Amazon really want to get into theatrical, or do they just want to have someone like MGM, making content for them?
Well, they
Um,
probably thought, honestly, listen, it's George Miller. You're like, hey, we have an awards film here, and very clearly when you watch this film,
oh
it's
no,
not. It's an awards non-starter. I mean, for
right.
nobody here is going to get into the mix of anything. There's not one single element of this film, and especially now, this is what I want to talk about: is the fact that we have this film that was debuted wide at 2,500 screens, and this is what I was afraid of. Now you've got this toxic linger to it that is sitting there at a bomb level. And you have all these articles, including the big one from Variety that everyone's been retweeting and quote tweeting today. Now this thing's toxic. And so now you have absolutely no shot. Not that you ever did, but now you really don't have a shot. Why did you not platform this? Can you answer that for me? Why would you not go New York, LA, and then expand like A24 did with Everything Everywhere all at once?
Well, I think that I mean, like you say, I think it's because it's not that great a movie, and it's not something that has wide appeal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, released in New York, LA, it'll do so much. I mean, I don't know if it would sell out some of these big houses here, like the Ziegfeld when it was here. I don't think if they opened it just at the Ziegfeld, it would sell out. I think it would do okay, but I think that there's a positive and a minus to platforming, and right now the way the box office is going wider right away is sometimes better. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, we have another movie opening this weekend called Breaking, which also
Mm-hmm.
went to
Bleecker
900
Street.
theaters.
Yep.
Yeah, and it went 900 theaters, and it kind of barely made anything. But I mean, it's still, if the theaters are available, you want to take them and get them out there, because the thing is, if you platform now, who knows what things are going to be like in a month from now.
Yeah, that's true.
To
But
go wide,
it's
to
just,
go wide. It's always
but
like
it's,
there's always this doubt when you go to a platform. It's always this doubt whether or not it'll do big enough in
yeah.
New York, LA to kind of just slowly get everywhere else.
Yeah,
So
I just think they ultimately this is just a mid film. I mean, that's the reality of this. This is not a great film, and I think that that's where it comes down. MGM knew that, and that's the other thing that I see people talking about is why didn't MGM heavily promote this? And they didn't. Even out here in LA, where I see all the stuff. I mean, you see billboards, bus stops, everywhere you go, you see this. You see Hollywood content. Here, I didn't see virtually anything for 3,000 Years of Longing, but I actually credit MGM for that. And let me tell you, because this film was never going to happen, no matter how much you put into it promotional wise, it was going to open at 2.9 million. Maybe you get to 3.1, but you spend, $10 million in another promo campaign. I think that they knew that this film was DOA, and that's what they said, just get it out.
but the thing is, as we spoke about this earlier a little bit. I mean, it has great cinematography,
Yep.
great production design, great
Mhm.
costumes. There's so many great below the line crafts involved with it.
Yep.
The only problem is that those categories are already getting filled up, because Elvis has in there, the
Oh,
Batman. There's also
sure.
movies that come out this year that already have really good below the line crafts in there, and we haven't even seen the September movies yet. So this is just kind of coming out, and it is, like I said, this is the kind of the worst weekend to release a movie. You don't release a movie on this weekend if you want it to explode. And there's been only a few examples where it's worked, like with I think Don't Breathe, I think, opened on this weekend, and maybe one of Tarantino's movies. But
Yeah, I mean, you can
otherwise,
do it. You're right. You can do it, but the film's got to be good, right? Like
right?
Once Upon a Time in
It's got to be
Hollywood.
great. It's got to be
Yeah.
great. I can't say. Yeah.
So Simone's got a comment here. One of my good buddies out here in LA. Why would MGM do this to George Miller? Why not push it to late September, early October? Because Simone, ultimately, this was a non-starter no matter where you put it in the calendar. If you move this even further into award season, I think it just completely. You talk about getting lost now. It's going to be a complete non-player at any level, even later. It's just, unfortunately, MGM got saddled with, again, this mid George Miller film, and that's ultimately what happened. Do you agree? I mean, isn't that kind of the bottom line on this, Edward?
Oh, definitely. But also, let's remember that last year MGM released Ridley Scott's The Last Duel,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a great movie. Everyone loved that movie, critic wise. But they released it in October, and it just tanked. It didn't, it
No,
didn't.
it didn't work. Yeah.
It also worked. That's a really good movie too. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously, I mean, between the last year October and this year October, it's different story. But I think anyway, if I were MGM, I'd be looking at maybe not September would probably worked. October, you're getting into Halloween territory, the movie Halloween. You're getting into a lot bigger movies are coming out. Black Adam, for instance.
Oh
So
yeah, you're
getting
gonna get
yeah,
swallowed up. Yeah, it's just
totally, totally.
you're gonna get slaughtered. And here's Ken Murray comment. One of my buddies from Boston. Marketing of 3,000 Years was bad. Barely marketed. Agreed. Didn't hammer home George Miller's director of Mad Max. Neither leads an actual draw, which I think we can talk about as well. When
Sure.
you look at, let's just start with Idris Elba. I mean, Idris Elba has Beast that opens it a little under 12. It dropped like 60% this weekend. Is Idris Elba the lead of a film? And I think what's interesting, and I'm gonna throw that to you and ask you that question. But when he said, I'm gonna remove myself, I don't want to do James Bond. I wonder if that wasn't just Idris Elba closing himself off. It's kind of like, you see this beautiful woman across the way and you're like, well, I'm not even going to bother. I'm not interested. Well, first of all, she wasn't interested in you. And
Yeah.
that's kind of the thing. Like, were they even thinking about him as Bond? But this gives him a way to say, oh, I wasn't going to do it. It's my choice. But Idris Elba does not have a tremendous box office record, certainly as the solo lead, which he pretty much is here. I mean, Tilda, but I mean, really, it's a 1-1, right?
It's a two of them. It's a two of them. And the
Yep.
thought of them, two of them together. And if that's what you want to see, I mean, it's not disappointing because you do see Tilda and Idris in bathrobes in a hotel room for
Yeah.
a good 2 hours.
It
So
sounds a lot better. It sounds sexier than the movie. It has
Yeah,
zero
totally,
sex
exactly.
appeal.
They're just sitting there, not doing anything. They're just sitting there in bathrobes,
Yeah.
talking and stuff like that. But I mean, it's. I mean, I think the movie had some potential, but I think also when you have a filmmaker like George Miller, you don't have people saying, George, this sucks. You got to do this or that. You don't have.
Well,
You don't
thank you. You know what? That's it. You know what? Forget everything else. We are now going to go. Hold on, real quick comment. There's a difference between no marketing and or not letting people know it's coming out. Okay, Nathan. Yeah, but here you just said it. This is what we need. We need people in this town, down the street from me, Warner Brothers, Universal, Disney, that actually tell directors, listen, this isn't good. George, we're not giving you a penny for this. I wouldn't pay him $60 million for this script. We don't have enough people in this town, unfortunately, that are kind of, let me just be frank, assholes. And you have to be at that level when you're throwing $60 million at George Miller to make this movie. And when you read this in a script form, I would never again. I'd give 6, not 60. We need more people that are more selective and not just saying yes all the time.
Well, I don't want to start a whole L.A. versus New York thing, but I mean, if you brought the script to someone in New York, they would probably let him know. Like
Good.
we don't mince words here, and there's like it's the reason why a lot of indie films get made in New York, or out of houses in New York, and it's strange. But I also feel like that's one of the reasons MGM got involved. They say, oh, we can get in the George Miller game.
Yeah.
Amazon may have been looking at that as
I know.
Hey, you know what? Maybe they're looking at George Miller to do James Bond. I mean, it wouldn't be crazy.
Yeah,
Maybe?
I mean, you're right. There is this level of let's get him in the fold, and then he'll give us something good. But again, not at 60, at 6, at maybe 16, but not 60. Let's move on and talk about The Invitation. It wins the weekend, $7 million. It's under what they really wanted at least 10 for this. Sony didn't do a whole lot of marketing. I'm shocked. I don't know when they screened it for you guys in New York. They didn't screen it for the press out here in LA until Thursday night. I mean, you could see it earlier like I did at the 4:00 Thursday preview screening.
That's what
and I said, this is a decent film. I mean, was that not your reaction? Like, this isn't the worst film ever made. And that kid, the vampire at this point, who cares? No one's seen it. The vampire, he's great. Like, he's going to be a superstar, that kid.
Yeah, he's a really good-looking, dashing guy.
Oh God, yeah.
Even though he's the villain, but yeah, I got invited to a 7:00 screening on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at the times. And I was like, oh, it's playing at 4:00, and I actually had plans on Thursday night anyway. So I said, I'll go see it now. And I got out of it. My friend was like, "Oh, you're going to go see The Invitation?" I'm like, "I just got out of it, dude."
Yeah.
Like a lot of the critics said they have no concept of like just getting AMC A-list.
Oh my God.
Seeing the movie when it opens.
Isn't that the truth? It's funny. I love you say that because I didn't for the longest time, and now that I have it, I'm like, what the hell was I doing? Not having A-list at $24 a month with no upcharge for IMAX, Dolby, Prime, all that stuff. It's all part of it, and you can just easily buy, cancel, all that stuff within the app. It's so easy. It just makes no sense to not have it. Let's talk about this too, and then I'm gonna let you run off to bed because I know it's midnight there on the East Coast, and we'll keep rolling here. But I want to ask you this: 41 million total for all of the top 10 films, which is the lowest number from way back in, I want to say, it was like, I just look at the Variety article. Let me pull it up. I think it was May of 2021, which was Spiral,
Well, it was
This
lower.
is
It
okay.
was lower
Okay.
in January. January
So
was lower though.
so that was low. Okay, so this is actually the lowest number one film because Spiral only opened to 4.5, but that was in the middle when COVID was there. Here's what I want to say though, Edward. Look, the one thing that I love when I read this Variety article, and we've been saying this forever on MMT, and you guys know we were the first, literally the first people saying, stop saying it's the pandemic era ended.
Right.
And right here, now, it's not the pandemic that's preventing most audiences from going to theaters, it's the lack of appealing options. So bravo to Variety for finally admitting something that is truthful and accurate when it comes to box office. It's because these movies are boring and no one wants to see any of them.
And no studio wants to really put a lot of money to promote them either. And so it's like, I mean, the studios know like the studios know that these movies are not prime movies. They put them out in a period where they can blame it on August.
Right.
That's one thing. But the thing is also we have to remember we've now like pretty soon Top Gun Maverick is going to hit $700 million. It's going to pass Black Panther, and that means we're going to have 2 movies in the top 5 all time that have been released in the last year.
Yep.
So that means that during COVID, we've had 2 of the top 5 hits of all time domestic. So yeah, you can't at this point you can't say it's the pandemic anymore.
No, and thank God they're not. Here's my last question. I'm going to let you run off to bed. How much in trouble are theaters looking at this schedule going forward? The next big film that we're going to get that has any interest is going to be Don't Worry, Darling. We're going to find out if that is good when it debuts in Venice. I have the PR campaign's going south on that film, right? So it better be great. That's okay. So we have that. Then we have Halloween Kills, and that's going to be day and date, as you know. And then we get Black Adam. But in between that, we have nothing. Like these next few weeks are just, you're going to not even have a movie at 5 million to win.
Well, I don't know about that because I think you've seen Barbarian. I think that's a good movie.
Barbarian is one that I think will outperform. Real quick. Give me a number on Barbarian. What do you think? I had it at 15.
I think like 12, 13. Yeah,
there you go.
15,
Okay.
15. But then after that, you have the Woman King, which I think is also has an audience potential. Yeah. Again, not 20 million, but maybe 14, 15. So I think as long as we don't have any number one movies under 10 million in September, we'll be okay. But I mean, it's not looking good when you're relying on Jaws and Avatar.
No.
And Spider-Man. I mean, again, the last time we spoke was for Spider-Man No Way Home, and we're back talking about Spider-Man No Way Home again because it's coming back to theaters.
What's your number for that next weekend? And then I'm really going to let you run and put your head down on the pillow. What is your number for No Way Home, the re-release with some added footage?
So right now, I'll give you the exclusive preview of my column. Okay. I'm saying between 8 and 9 million.
I had 10. I had 10.
Yeah, but it'll be number one. It'll be number one, and it'll be like, oh, why can't anything else in theaters break out if that could do 10 million? So
and it's a retread, and we're in. But listen, people are looking for anything. I'm looking for content. I don't even have a screening scheduled anytime soon. Edward, as always, much appreciated. Thank you for coming on. I'm going to let you run off to bed, but thank you for coming on MMT. Wonderful insight.
Thanks again. Always great talking to you, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, Edward. Good seeing you. Okay, guys, let's roll on here on this Sunday night. And I got a few more comments here because we're at the point where, I mean, listen, there's not much to discuss. The box office is dead, right? So let's talk about whatever you want to do here. Tonight's kit, by the way, Arsenal, who is in possession of the Premier League right now at 12 points, top of the table. It's open comment time. Let's get to it here on this Sunday night. And I see Simone again. I'm seeing Moon Age Daydream Monday night. What do you think of its Oscars chances? I think they're very high. Though okay, remember, that's a documentary. David Bowie, I've seen it twice. I love the film. I can't wait to talk about it more at length. But the documentary branch has shown a real reluctance to nominate archival footage when it comes to the Oscars, to even nominate them, let alone win. I mean, you look at just the past few years, the documentaries that were completely snubbed. Apollo 11, archival footage, unbelievable film. The Mr. Rogers documentary, Won't You Be My Neighbor, right? I always get that one and Neighborhood messed up. The documentary is amazing. The Tom Hanks movie is bad, not a good film. But they didn't nominate that at all. You know, these are my concerns when we look at Moon Age Daydream, which is lights out from a documentary perspective. It is a challenging film because it's not a straight ahead narrative. It's very obtuse in a way that I love because that gives you multiple viewings easily on that film. So I hope that it gets nominated, but my fear is because of the documentary branch, It might not, and which would be a complete crime because the film is amazing. It is one of my favorite films of the year. Period. Period. Simone, I just did you. Hold on. Let's pull it up again. Aaliyah, here we go. Can Florence Pugh still be nominated for, maybe win Best Actress, even with the controversy, her refusal to promotion the film? That's going to depend on one very key thing. What is it, Aaliyah? You know. How good is the film? If Don't Worry, Darling is not a great film, and I mean great, not good, great, it's over. There's no chance. If it's a great film and it's being discussed, in other categories aside from just Florence Pugh, I would say yes, but I have real hesitation on this film. I am very uncertain about this film because it comes out in September, because it is under a ton of controversy right now with both Olivia, with Harry and their relationship, the Shia thing. We can talk about that. What happened with him saying she said she fired him. He said he quit. It looks like he did quit. It's not looking good. If I'm the PR campaign over there at Warner Brothers, the FYC campaign, I'm like, oh God, please say this. They know if it's good or not. Okay, at this point, they've seen the film. I don't know yet. We will find out. Just wait for those initial reviews out of Venice. If they are just mid or it's good, no way. If they say it is an absolute awards player across the board, then yes, Florence Pugh can be there because she's one of the best actresses we have. Young actresses, no question. Florence Pugh kicks ass. Okay, she's, if I was going to go ahead and put a film together, I'm going to hire Florence Pugh to be in my film no matter whatever the role is she's in. Okay. I saw Bullet Train last night. Thought it was a really fun, solid film, but messy. Satvik, here's my number one takeaway on Bullet Train, and I'm glad you enjoyed it, is that I love the direction. Okay. I think that the direction on Bullet Train for an action film is what I want. Okay, when you look at that and then you put it up right against my favorite film of all time, The Gray Man. I've gotten so much use out of this popcorn box. Then you're talking about, it's embarrassing. It's such a difference between what the Russo brothers do, okay, and then you watch what happens here in Bullet Train, and you just go, wow, okay. So when you get that Leach, when you see what he does with that film, that's the difference in what. But it is, from a screenplay perspective, I would agree it's a little bit messy and it's too long, no question about it. Back to Leah. Ezra seems to think their Flash role is safe. By the way, good job with there. I still have not mastered that. Is safe ongoing after the movie as long as they improve themselves now. The THR article, yes, possible. No, I don't think there's any chance. There's a 0% chance that he will be the Flash going forward. I can't imagine a studio head in this environment, Zaslav for sure, after what he's put them through, the uncertainty of this $250 million film, that you're going to put in jeopardy over we know he needs help. Okay. He absolutely needs mental help, and he looks like he's reaching out for that. But interesting how he comes to Warner Brothers, has a meeting down the street. He makes his way here. After all this time, all of a sudden, he's interested in the Flash. I think that's curious too. Maybe someone lit a fire under his ass. Very clearly that's the case. But after what he's done, what he's put Warner Brothers through, I can't ever see him getting another shot at that role. 0% chance. No matter what happens with that film, you have to recast it. In my estimation, now, if the studio does something different, I don't know what to tell you. But I'm just telling you, in my estimation, I would never, ever greenlight it. The same thing I would never do. I would never, if I was at MGM, give George Miller $60 million for 3,000 Years of Longing. There's a 0% chance. Zero. I'd say, George, we'll check out your next film. This is a non-starter. Not happening. We need more of those people. Ken Murray, have you seen The Woman King? No, I have not. 8:30 on a Friday. That's weird. I've never had a Friday night screening in my life either. Ken, that's the first time I've ever seen. The only time we have Friday night screenings out here, if it's during award season and it's perhaps the second or third screening, they're like, hey, come see it on the weekend, get some different voters in there, but never a debut. A debut is always on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, rarely on the weekend. Sometimes Saturday, Sunday, but never on a Friday. Never, ever. So that is not a good sign. Here's the problem with The Woman King 2. It is a September release. I would absolutely have my hopes lowered for that film. Massively lowered. Okay? Anything that's a September film, go ahead and say probably not going to be an awards film. And I think that's the thing when you look at these films such as Woman King, don't worry, darling. These are potential awards films. So if they're good, if they're great, if they think they're going to be an awards film, you don't put it out in September. You just don't do it. You save it for October, for November. And even you look at, and Edward brought this up, The Last Duel. That was a film they released in October, and it was a non-starter. And that's even further into the window. And that's a better film. I don't think it's great because there's some issues with that film, certainly from the three perspectives, right? Okay, I don't want to get into that. I've already been down that road so many times. But look, that's a better film, and they released it in October, and it was a non-starter. So if you get a mid film in September, it's dead. There is no chance that it is going to be anything when it comes to awards. Superhero movies, good evening to you. Even Idris Elba couldn't save the Beast movie. When I left the cinema, it's just numb. It is a complete waste of time. Thank you for seeing the same film that I saw. Beast I gave it a 6. I really should be lower. I really should have given it a 5. It has no connection of energy that you feel watching the film, which for an action film, you should feel intense and feel really caring about the characters. Are they going to survive this whole thing, their ordeal? I didn't care if anyone made it out. You knew they would, and you knew Idris would fight the lion, and you knew that the other lions would attack the rogue lion. You knew it was all coming the way it was going to all put together and fit together the way it was. And that's why the movies, from a screenplay perspective, is just so forgettable. It's just a forgettable film. Perfect August film, right? Because that's just the reality of August. Forgettable films. Matthews Mordecai, good evening to you. Will Zaslav's moves really pan out well? Strong theatrical maneuver is good, but the filmmakers got to work with the studio that just cancels movie in the can. Well, listen, I am all for what Zaslav is as far as being very decisive. I think that we need more of that in this town where people say, this is what we're doing, bang, right? I brought this up before, and I know some of you are going to say, just hear me out before everyone goes, wait a second. We've said it so many times. Harvey Weinstein, in what he was as a human being, is despicable, and what he did to so many people in this town, horrendous. But he was very good at making filmmakers do what he wanted them to do as far as cut the film down. You say, this is what we're going to go with. Very strong voice that way. Now, okay, so that's all I'm going to say about it. We need someone and people who, in the positions of power, who are not asshats, despicable people like him, but we need that mentality of, I am going to make sure that what we do is the right thing from a business standpoint and also an artistic standpoint. And I think that Zaslav, as much shit as he's getting from everybody, he's very specific about his moves, and he's saying things like, Batgirl, not a good film, just get rid of it. I'd rather take our losses than release a mid or worse film that will damage the DC brand. From a business perspective, and from preserving the DC brand, it's a very smart move. And I know everyone gets all like bent out of shape when it comes to something you love gets canceled. We've talked about this so many times on MMT. I got it. I understand it. You're passionate about it. Great. But ultimately, it's a business. And if your film / series / whatever you love is not making money for the studio or whoever's involved, production company, they are going to cancel it because they don't want to lose money. I mean, would you, if you were doing something in your life that was costing you more than you were getting out of it, would you continue even if someone else loved it? Okay, let's imagine MMT. Here we are. It cost me to do this show. It costs $1,000 per show. Okay, we wouldn't be doing MMT anymore. I would say this is just too much money to spend on this, which I think we can all agree. But ultimately, you have to be a business forward person, and Zaslav as a CEO is that guy. I understand that. I also understand that you guys, some of you don't get that, but listen, it's a business. It's a business. You have to get that. You have to. Okay, we already did that one. Hold on. Let's go. Oh, Ken. That's why 99.99% of test screenings are in LA, Boston, New York, Chicago. They be brutally honest. Listen, true. I've said this before and I'm saying it again tonight. Please help me get this done. I want to be a test screener of one. And you guys know from watching the channel, you know who I am and how I go about my business. If I went in to watch a test screening of a film that wasn't good, do you think I would hold back? I just destroyed The Gray Man in every possible way because it's such a horrible film and because of the number one, the editing. But the thing is I didn't have a problem with that. And if I was in a room with the brothers, the Russo brothers, and they said, "Hey, Eric, what'd you think?" I'd say, "This is not a good film." And they're standing right here. They're right here. And I'm like, "Listen, this film is so poorly edited. I can't believe that you even considering releasing this film the way that I just saw it. Like, you have to go back in and re-edit the entire film, especially the action sequences, because they're incoherent, the whole film." And at that point, trust me, Safdies, they know what they're doing. The Russos know. The Russos would probably want to lunge across the table and take a swing. But first of all, bring it. Two, you got to be like that. You got to be brutally honest. It's not personal. It's you're trying to make the movie better. And ultimately, that's what I want to do. So test screening of one, because I know, Ken, you'd be good at that too. I'll fly Ken in. Menzel's very good at that. And I think that we can also bring in trying to think who else we could bring in. At least the three of us to start. And then we would actually sit down and just destroy films that were bad. And conversely, we'd say these films are good because all three of us are very good. Jeff Ewing, another great person. Bring four of us in. Here comes the four horsemen as we sit down and we obliterate films. But listen, you have to be like that. You have to. Gingy, ERC. I wouldn't know. Gingy, I wouldn't know because I can't see Jeff's tweets anymore. It's a sad day. But if he is still saying the pandemic era, it's that's kind of, I'm sorry, it's laughable. It's laughable. It's not. It's not it's no longer. Okay. I understand the COVID tab. Let's go to COVID. The COVID tab is still sitting here on here. So here's my Twitter page. This is the thing that I can't stand. Are you guys with me on this? Tell me you're the other. Okay, so here's my Twitter page. Let's not go into the DMs. That could get ugly. Okay, let's go down to, here it is. Okay, so look on the right side. What's happening? Okay, so here we go. Here's what's happening. The affidavit, Sodom, church girl, VMAs. Look at number 4. COVID-19 live. What if I don't want to see your damn tab? Like, I don't want to see the COVID-19 news and updates for California. This is messaging, okay? I don't want to see your shit anymore. Get it off my Twitter page. And if you want to find it, then search for it. But can you imagine sitting here all day and going, "Oh, look, here's my latest news and updates for California on the COVID shit." Can you imagine having that sad of a life? I mean, that is like the most pathetic life you can imagine. At that point, get rid of the damn COVID tab. This is going to be my cutout for tomorrow when we send it. That'll be getting more traction than anything else. Remove the COVID tab from my Twitter page. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Get it out of here. It's like a show you've watched so many times and it's jumped the shark. We don't want to talk about it. Get rid of the COVID tab. Give me a comment now that tells me you noticed the same thing. Stop messaging me. Stop. That's what we do here. We message you on MMT. Okay, wait, we just did that. Yeah, let's go. Man. See, here's the problem, Matthews. House of Dragon, it looks good. I don't watch it, and I feel like this is why this is a very niche show, because we talk about things like 3,000 Years of Longing being, why does MGM say yes to this film at 60 million, and why did they release it wide? These are not the things that most people want to talk about, but that's what I love about you guys. You want to talk. I don't know why I'm wearing these. This is why you are here, to hear the rants of very small topics, which I love. This is what we do. We don't talk about House of Dragon, but it does look good, and everyone's watching it. God knows if we did a House of Dragon stream, we'd have a ton of people watching, but so be it. Whatever. You know what we do here. Nathan, again, back from the beginning, one of the first comments finally getting to you here on this Sunday night. It was a great film, but I still blame COVID, not the people scared to show up because they're not spending on marketing right now. So you're talking about 3,000 Years of Longing, and here's the reality. I don't think it's a great film, but if you did, that's fine. I think you're talking about that. But thank you at least for saying, because no one's scared. No one's scared anymore of COVID, okay? We've seen that. You wouldn't have Top Gun Maverick at 700 million domestic, essentially, at 1.4 billion worldwide. No Way Home at 1.8 billion worldwide. Strange at almost $1 billion. Thor at 750 whatever million. You would never have these numbers. Minions, 850 million worldwide, if people were still living in the quote pandemic era. So that's why we're not going to talk about it that way anymore. It's over. The game's over. Stop talking about it. There we go. I don't watch it either. Okay. Okay, but a lot of people criticize Zaslav on one hand, anger and Warner Brothers, and then excitedly watch it. This is what I had this tweet. Aaliyah, I had this tweet months ago. I'll dig it up and I'll send it back out. The same people that are bitching about Warner Brothers, WBD, and all that are turning around and watching their product. It's, oh, I'm never going to watch another DC film. They're there day one, Thursday night at Black Adam. It's, come on. That's why whenever they do one of these things where people, someone does something, right, to piss someone off, and they go after the sponsors, they say, oh, I'm never going to buy your product again. It's like, okay, really? And then they're buying it. They just aren't admitting it. The best one of those is Chick-fil-A. Everyone, Chick-fil-A, oh, God, they're this, and this. And then, well, wait, you're saying you're not going to go to Chick-fil-A, but why is there a line all the way around the building 24/7 here in Burbank every day except Sunday because they're not open? Why? Oh, that's right. Because when you threaten things like that, most people, A, aren't a customer, or B, they don't follow through with it. And that's the Warner Brothers people. That's the Zack Snyder fans. I'm never going to watch another Warner Brothers thing. And then they turn around and they watch Dragon. They turn around and watch Black Adam because they're still going to be there. They just want to whine, complain, and all that stuff. It's like, man, it's a business. It is a business at the end of the day. If Henry Cavill were to come back as Superman, who do you think would be a perfect to direct? Not Zack Snyder. Not because I don't like Zack Snyder. I told you my problems with Man of Steel. Because the first half of the film, mint. Thank you, Black Phone. The second part of the movie, not mint. Okay, the second part of the movie, the end, CGI, blitzkrieg, bludgeon you over the face with literally CGI effects for an hour and a half. God, it's too much. But I love when Zack Snyder's restrained and he's within less is more. Those of you joining us from Film Courage, then I love Zack Snyder. When Zack Snyder goes out of control, CGI overload, not a fan. So I understand it's Superman, I get it, but you still have to find a way to bring it down. So we'll see. But who's a good director? Kaczynski'd be good. McQuarrie. I mean, okay. So for me, I would try to get you guys. Some of you are going to lose your minds right now when I say this. I would get David Leitch to direct it. That's exactly who I get to direct it because he can direct an action film. And I feel like he can and he will grow into more if he wants to put. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of drama in a new Superman movie too, I would hope. I think that I would give him a shot. I would absolutely hire him. I would hire Kaczynski, maybe McQuarrie, but I think I would hire Leitch or Kaczynski. And you guys are, oh my God, you wouldn't hire Zack Snyder? No, because I want to see something different. That's why. I want to see something different, and I would hire one of those two guys to do the film. Those are the first two names. There's probably more. Hit me with some more if you have some. Gone Girl, good evening to you. 3,000 Years of Longing is such a bore, isn't it? It's just a boring film. It's very mid. Beast is not good either. That's a great question. I would actually watch 3,000 Years of Longing before I'd watch Beast again if I had to rewatch either of them because of production design, cinematography, editing, of costumes, of all the tech stuff, all the below the line, as they say. Things about 3,000 Years of Longing. But from a screenplay perspective, I would watch Beast, but the movie's so boring that I would be like, I'm not going to see either one of these movies. I'm staying home and watching The Wall because neither one is worth a rewatch. The Bowie documentary, conversely, is worth as many watches as you can sneak in when it comes to IMAX. Simone's going to see it tomorrow. I would actually see that again before it hits theaters. So I've already seen it twice. I'll tell you my story from Wednesday night if I didn't tell you already. So I'm there and I'm sitting there and I'm at the screening of Moon Age Daydream, and I'm walking in. It's about 30 minutes early. I got there early. It's down at the Raleigh Studios lot, and here comes a guy in a suit, and I'm like, "What's this guy in a suit walking out?" And I look, I'm like, "Oh my God!" He goes, "Hey, I'm Brett." I go, "Shit, it's Brett Morgan, the director of Moon Age Daydream," and he's sitting there, and he's the coolest guy. And we're talking. I told him I love the film, which, I'm not going to say I love something if I don't. And we had a really nice long chat. But one thing I want to say about Brett Morgan and what he did for that film that night at Raleigh Studios, he drove across town to get to Raleigh Studios before they screened it for the press. And he made sure the tech was dialed in, and he made sure the volume knob was cranked all the way up. And you've got to love that level of dedication from a director who's going to drive from one side of LA to the other. And by the way, that's not an easy thing to do at like 5, 6 o'clock at night on, I believe it was a Wednesday night. Not good. But he drove all the way across town to literally crank the volume, make sure everything was perfect, and then he left. He didn't even stay. He didn't have a Q&A. That's cool. And that's what I love, too, about going to these screenings. You go to see Moon Age Daydream. I saw it for the second time, and here comes the director. And you get to have a one-on-one moment with him and tell him how much you love the film. There's some things he told me that he said I can't tell. I would love to, but I will just say this. Passionate man, and you see that in Moon Age Daydream. I cannot wait for you guys to see this film here coming up in about 2.5 weeks. You're going to get an IMAX week of Moon Age Daydream, and I can't recommend that you run out to see that film in IMAX. It's going to blow you apart. You're just going to literally have the old Maxell tape thing where your head's like this and the hair's back. You're going to literally be blown away by that film. It's so good. Artistically, it's so on point. Have you seen Breaking? Tyler Disney, I have not. Tyler, good evening to you, my friend. Great performance, but kind of boring. Breaking's a non-starter. It ended up, I think, in like almost last place at $1 million this weekend. Bleecker Street cannot get it right. They can never get the right film that works for them from a box office perspective. I didn't see it. I know I've heard John Boyega is very good, and also the other actor who passed away. I've heard he's not Rob Morgan. Yeah, I've heard he's great. But the problem is that it was a non-starter. It's another August movie that Bleecker Street's like, just shove it out there and let's get $1 million. I believe that was a Sundance film, and it didn't have that much buzz coming out of Sundance. The best film out of Sundance that I've seen this year, Emily the Criminal. It's not zero contest. Emily the Criminal is a great film. Great film. Not a good film, a great film. And I love Aubrey Plaza and John Patton Ford. We've talked about that on the stream. That huge fan of that film and big fan of that director going forward. I would hire him for a movie in a second. Now, would I hire him to do the next Superman, Man of Steel? No. I would trust that to Leach, because Leach knows how to make Deadpool 2. He's done superhero movies. He knows how to work with big budgets, which, of course, Man of Steel 2 would be. I think that'd be a perfect fit. This is what I want to do. Can I please do the job of a studio head and hire directors for films? I would hire John Patton Ford to do some kind of cool drama that's an awards film. I'd find a really awesome script, and I'd say, you are directing this film, and I know he'd come back with something good. So here's your money. Put $60 million for George Miller and 3,000 Years of Longing. Laughable. Like, not just laughable. MGM is going to be bankrupt again, because they were bankrupt a decade ago. 2010, they filed for bankruptcy because they had financial issues. When you give $60 million to George Miller to make 3,000 Years of Longing, forget about the fact it made $2.9 million. When you give him $60 million to make that movie, forget about the final product, just the screenplay. There's no way in hell I am giving George Miller $60 million to make 3,000 Years of Longing, the movie I saw. 6 million, maybe 10, maybe on a good day. If it was a Friday and I just had a great week, I'd give him closer to 10. But 60, I would laugh and I would say, George, I love Babe Pig in the City. And then I'd say, hit the road. But that's the truth. It's not a good movie. It's just very forgettable. Joshua, good evening to you. I watched The Samaritan last night. I wouldn't recommend. I didn't watch it, Josh, and let me tell you why. Because it's streaming only, which I knew was a problem. 2, I watched a few seconds of the trailer, and the filmmaking looks so low. I mean, it just doesn't look like it's edited well. It's not shot well. There's no style. And then, they didn't have enough courage or conviction to send this thing out theatrically. So that means it's really bad. So what you're saying is exactly what I thought I would hear. I love the idea, though, that he's like this superhero in hiding, and Stallone's great, but it's unfortunate when you have a great idea on paper and you have an actor that would be perfect for it. And then let's see who directed The Samaritan, because that's the area that you lose. I tell you guys all the time, what is the number one thing about any film? It is the director. It is the only thing that matters for a film. Directed by Julius Avery. Let's see what else he's done. Julius Avery is an Australian screenwriter. Let's pull it up. He's an Australian screenwriter and filmmaker. Let's see what else he's done. Because here's the thing. As soon as you tell me it's not good, the first thing I want to know is who directed it. Okay, let's see what Julius Avery's done. Shorts, features Son of a Gun, Overlord. What the hell? What was Overlord? Oh yeah, Overlord was actually pretty cool. I got to say that was a cool film, but for whatever reason, this didn't look good, and it's unfortunate. But I feel like that should have been a good movie. So Stallone is good, but if you don't guess the twist, you weren't watching it. Samaritan should have been good. This is exactly you just said it, Ken. I didn't even see your comment till right now. Should have been good. That's the problem. I hate that. I hate films that should have been good in our. Those are the worst. It's like when I did the Film Courage video talking about Uncut Gems. It's not a terrible film. I'm just saying it could have been better if you would have taken more out of the film, not more into the film. And that's really frustrating. You want to tear your hair out is you're like, you had a good film and you made it worse by doing more. In this case, you made it worse by not making it as good as it could have been. And that's disappointing. It has to be because you're not going to make another one of these. I mean, you're not going to get Stallone again to do another film like this. You had your shot. You didn't get it. It happens. It happens in Hollywood, but it's super disappointing. Overlord is criminally underrated. I would agree. And so that's why I go, hold on. This guy directed Overlord. I completely forgot. That's a film that has a huge cult following, by the way. Huge. George Miller's a talented filmmaker. Isn't really a box office name. Fury Road. Let me look at the box office from Fury Road. I know it was a huge critics play. You guys know I'm not a huge fan of Fury Road. I don't think it's a bad film. I love the tech on it. I think as an engaging, emotional journey, no, no, not for me. Not for me. It's a great effects film, and obviously real effects, right? All that looks amazing. Hold on, let's pull up the box office. I think you're right though. I would agree that I'm pretty sure it didn't make. Okay, worldwide, 151 in the United States and Canada. That's 154, excuse me. That's good. And then 221 in other territories. So total of 375. That's fine. That's why they're going to make another one. But yeah, it's interesting that it was that high. Here's the reality though, is that any film like that's the reason it made $375 million was not George Miller's name. Okay. It was Mad Max, which I understand is George Miller, but I'm just trying to think about this. Just break it down. The reason that film made $375 million is Mad Max, the name, obviously Tom Hardy, and Charlize Theron. Those are the top three reasons. Okay. I didn't mention George Miller. Now, granted, he's the director and he's the focal point of the film. We just talked about directors being everything, but I'm saying from a marketing standpoint, people didn't go see $375 million worth of Mad Max because of George Miller. It's thinking like that gets you in trouble on film Twitter, and the people go, why didn't 3,000 Years of Longing make more money? Because George Miller is not a huge box office name. As Gone Girl says here, it's 100% accurate. He's a name on film Twitter, but he's not a name in the real world, okay? And we've said so many times, the film Twitter and the niche and the circle that we exist in is small. It doesn't transfer to everybody else on the planet. And Mad Max does, Tom Hardy does, Charlize Theron does, but not George Miller. Okay? So that's 100% right. Superhero movie. Sad that nothing like Top Gun Maverick will be seen again for quite some time, which we've said many times. Don't expect it. It's not going to happen anytime. Lightning in a bottle, right? Cliche as hell, but lightning in a bottle, and you're not going to see it anytime soon. It was a once in a decade thing, 100%. Mission 7 will be good, but it's not going to be. Maverick is a very unique situation. Okay, unique. Fury Road's my number one most over. Ken. Why are we like virtually simpatico all the time? We are always. I would agree 100% that is one of the most overrated films of the past 10 years. But I would say, yeah, 20. I mean, listen, it's not a great film. It's a tremendous action film with insane effects that are practical, right? Real, not a lot, CGI, yes, but not all of it. A lot of it's real. They banging up, destroying cars, all that shit. But from a film, as an overall experience, that I really am like, I am engaged with this film and I'm fully involved, like The Raid and The Raid 2. Now, you want to talk about action films that are engaging, electrifying, and just absolutely testosteronic is oh my God, The Raid and The Raid 2. I would never say those things about Mad Max, Fury Road. So why? Because The Raid, you are in the film. I feel like Mad Max, I'm existing outside of it. That was my experience with it, and I know a few people feel like that, but it's really hard. When you say that, people go, oh, did he just say that? Did he just say that Fury Road is overrated? Oh my God. Yes, I agree 100% with that. Gingy, I watched Rogue One yesterday. Greg Fraser's cinematography is stellar. Listen, anytime that man is behind the camera and working with whoever the director is he's working with, in Batman's case, Matt Reeves, but Fraser, and you go back to Andrew Dominic in Killing Them Softly. When I watched Killing Them Softly, okay, this is when Greg was up and coming. No one really, he had done Let Me In with Matt Reeves. But when I watched Killing Them Softly, I didn't know who Greg Fraser was. I had no idea. At that time, no one really was talking as much about cinematographers as they do nowadays. Okay. And I watched the film and I go, holy, this film is shot lights out. Like the scene where, what's his name, gets executed in Killing Them Softly and the bullet comes through the window. We just lost him, Ray Liotta. When that scene happens, it is, the cinematography is, I don't know if I've ever seen anything quite like what Greg Fraser does in Killing Them Softly from so many different ways. The way that thing is framed, widescreen, and just the way it moves and breathes based on his eye. He has a next level talent that most people don't have, and that's what you notice also about Rogue One is that he did the cinematography, and cinematography is essential. So you want to have somebody like him. So yeah, when you go back and watch that film, you see it. The Raid 2, Dread. Oh my God, 100% on all three of those. All three of those films are far superior to Fury Road. All three of the films listed there, the Raid 2, and Dread, which Dread and the Raid are essentially the same film, and especially Dread in 3D. Those movies urinate all over Fury Road. Like it's Fury Road. If it were a boxing match, they would stop it in the first round. The game, it's over. Stop the fight. The Raid 2, Dread, all smash Fury Road. Like destroyed. Like in Fury Road, where they run in and the car obliterate. That is what happens to Fury Road when you put it up against the Raid 2, and Dread. No contest. None. Jeff Messerman again. Rogue One is glorious, 100%. Only recent Star Wars to nail the scale of Star Wars. I could not agree more. Everything seems huge, and that goes back to Greg Fraser. I'm going to see it tomorrow. Reminder, if you're going to see Rogue One, you got to do it this week because it's IMAX 1 week kind of thing. They might sneak a few in the following week. It did really well this weekend. It made 1.1 million from like 500 locations of IMAX screens. Go see it before it leaves. That's always my advice to you on some of these films that are going to be there for like 1 week, maybe 2. You really need to make it essential that you go out to see the film because it's going to disappear and you're going to miss your opportunity probably ever in the rest of the planet's history to see Rogue One again in IMAX. That's how I think it's so important to go see these films. Like even an Emily the Criminal on the big screen is better than at home. And I would say you need to budget time this week to go see Rogue One. I'm going to see it tomorrow. We'll talk about it Thursday on MMT. I'm sure I'm going to love it as much as I did the first time. But again, I go back and I look at what Greg Fraser does, and I go, well, oh no, here we go. This is the fight we want. I shall allow no Fury Road slander. Here's the truth. Is I love these are the discussions we should have because I know a lot of you are passionate about it. I'm not nearly as passionate. Ken's not as passionate. Let's have these debates. But I will say this, Josh, if you have not watched the Raid 2, or Dread, if you've not seen all three of those, I defy you to watch any of those and tell me they're better than Fury Road because I don't see it. It's certainly not the Raid and not the Raid 2. Dread, I can entertain a little bit for some, but even then. But when you look at the Raid 2, the Raid 2, in my estimation, is the greatest action film ever made. In scope, in pure energy, in pure just adrenaline rush action. And that film, what it goes from one, which is tightly confined to that, building where they're going floor by floor, very much like Dread. Clearly someone read the script and said, let's make the same movie. But when you look at the Raid 2 and you take the scope and you go world on it, in the car scene, the car chase scene, that film, and I would pay to go see the Raid 2 again in IMAX. If I ever win the lottery, first thing I'm going to do is going to build a full-size IMAX for myself and friends. We'll call it the MMT IMAX. And I'm not even kidding you. Every night will be something like the Raid 2. And tonight, good time. and Ghost Story in IMAX. What is going on? That's what I would spend my money on, no question. Totally agree. Go see Rogue One. I mean, do it. With E.T., Jaws, Rogue One, all these re-releases. What's a movie you never saw on the big screen you should have? I've been very lucky, Ken. Honestly, I've been very lucky over my lifetime to have seen so many films that I love on the big screen. Drive is another example. So many films in Boston when you and I were there. I was there with you, and we went to so many movies. I mean, look at the movies I'm talking about: The Raid 2, Drive. There's many, many more. Those three, Dread, Great Gatsby in 3D, Prometheus in 3D. These are all films that I experienced in Boston at those press screenings in 3D and regular. And there was, 25 of us in the theater. And those experiences are communal, right? So we will always have that. And I think that's the beauty of film. And I know Tarantino has that quote that theatrical film is communal. And for me, it absolutely is that. And I've been very lucky to see almost everything I ever wanted on the big screen. I would say the easy answer for that is Taxi Driver. I would want to see Taxi Driver in a re-release in IMAX or Dolby Cinema. That would be absolutely one of those. By the way, 5-minute warning. 5-minute warning. Raid 2, and Dread are all pretty much masterpieces. Good, Joshua. You've redeemed yourself. You're right in my wheelhouse. So I'm super biased. I understand. But listen, it's all good. Again, we can have these discussions. I love passion, and that's the thing we're doing here at MMT. If you have a different take, then so be it. It's all good. We respect it. The only thing we'll never respect, ever, is if you come into MMT and you tell me that The Gray Man is good. If you come in here and you tell me in the comments that you legitimately think The Gray Man is a good film, then we cannot have a relationship going forward. Either Chris Evans or Gosling, I don't care, whichever one you want, you cannot tell me this is a good film. This is a bad film. And the editing is amongst the worst that I've ever seen in an action film. Right, Ryan? Hell yeah. It's terrible. The editing is horrendous. I can't believe I was in this movie. This is the thing. This is what you get out of MMT. Anything else I'm game for. Just don't ever come in here and tell me that. If you do, you're getting booted. Let's start a Patreon to buy lottery tickets. MMT IMAX. I'm not even kidding you, Jeff. I'm not playing. I would absolutely find a space here in LA, which there's a few. I mean, it might not be in the best neighborhood, but we would build the MMT IMAX, and every single night would be a different badass film in IMAX. It would be like Tarantino's New Beverly, only more badass because we'd have stadium seating. It wouldn't be that big. I'd make it small. Like the IMAX headquarters down in Marina del Rey has a full-size IMAX, but the seating is small, like maybe holds 100. So it's one of the coolest places to see a film because you're watching an IMAX and you're right up on it, and it's the big ass IMAX, not this FOMAX shit. It's legitimately huge. But it's small. I would build something like that, like about 100 seats or less, and then an IMAX screen. And then we would have different movies every single night of the week. And I would always have seats taped off in the back for me and whoever else wanted to come, the whole row. Everyone else would buy tickets. You know what? In LA, I'm not even kidding you. In LA, if you did that, if you made an IMAX, a personal IMAX that had 100 seats, you could easily charge $15 a head, maybe 20, every night to see films like Taxi Driver, Raid 2, Dread in 3D. Can you imagine? Fury Road. Okay, all these amazing films over the years that you could put in there. You would sell it out. You would have so many people going. So yes, let's make it happen. I'm going to keep playing the lottery because ultimately that's what I have to do. I have to win at least 100 million because by the time taxes and stuff, I mean, to build the MMT IMAX, that's going to be at least, I would think at least 10 million just to be a rough number. So I need to make at least enough. I don't want to waste it all on the MMT IMAX. But I can spend 10 million on the IMAX, and then we just have different people come in, or you just have a private screening. You want to come by the IMAX tonight and watch a movie? Hell yeah, let's watch it. What do you want to put on? Let's put it on the IMAX. Now, granted, it wouldn't necessarily be in the perfect format, but we'd have it gigantic and blown up. So we just would everything would have to be letterbox. We'd never do the widescreen pan and scan. I know a person, shit you not, who said The Gray Man is better than Top Gun Maverick. That person is clinically, they need to be grabbed and put into Arkham Asylum as soon as possible. Wherever you need to physically, someone needs to come out and grab that person because they're not thinking clearly and they're a menace to society at that point. That's one of the worst takes. You can have bad takes, but you can't have that. 1 minute warning, 1 minute warning. Isn't the old Cinerama Dome vacant? We could get it again. Jeff, it could. I don't know what they want. I know they keep saying they're going to bring it back. We could just do that, but it's really big. I want to have a more intimate thing where we can literally have some seats, but also some bean bags and maybe some love seats and certainly recliners. And then we'd have the gigantic screen, and there'd be a no talking policy that was strictly enforced. In fact, I would walk up in front of the crowd every single night and say, if anyone says even a word during the movie, you will be removed physically from these two gigantic guys on either side that you see, and have fun otherwise. But don't say a word to anybody in here or you're out. You are booted. That's the number one rule. So I do love Alamo Drafthouse for that. They're like, tattle on people if they're talking. I'm like, hell yeah. Someone was talking the other day in the movie, and then I'm going to wrap. Someone was talking about something between their friends, like next to me in front of, what was I watching the other night? The Invitation. And I was like, why are you talking? Why do you feel the need that you need to turn to your person that you're with and go, blah, 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 just there's nothing you need to say about the film. You can maybe lean in and whisper, oh my God, you see that? Right? That's it. That's it. That's as loud. If you go louder than that, and if you talk more than once, then you know what? You are gone. You're gone from my movie theater. All right, this will do it for tonight, Ken. I also expect a personal invite for the world premiere of MMT IMAX. I will absolutely. Hey, listen, if I win the lottery, I'll be able to fly people in. We'll have like a private flight that goes around and grabs people. Listen, one can dream, right? One can dream that one day we will have that. But I promise you this: if I ever win a multi-million dollar jackpot in the lottery, we will find some way to build the MMT IMAX somewhere near Burbank, because I love it over here. It'll be here. We'll knock something over and we'll put it up, and it'll just be super exclusive. Only the cool people can come. And then that's it. So please make it happen. Lord, please. It's giving back to cinema. That's going to do it tonight for MMT. We're back on Thursday with God knows what we're talking about, because there's no movies of importance. There's that Preacher thing. Oh my God, that movie is going to absolutely tank. We are in a really bad spot here theatrically. We're not going to have much to talk about. So hit me with topic suggestions in the comments. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Man, I appreciate you guys being here. That's going to do it from MMT. Until Thursday, I am